be too much weight now. What's going on, everyone? It's Mike with Albatwitch Crawls. I'm back at White Rose Hobbies here. I'm gonna try the Toyo Open Country Pro tires on the terrain here to see how they do, but that's not the only thing. I also got my replacement of the Furitek Unity 10 2-in-1 motor, so I'm gonna run that in this fella here to see how that does. I plugged in all the numbers of the ratios and everything into AI. It said there's no reason why it shouldn't have been able to run on a 13-tooth pinion, so I'm starting with that. But I did bring others all the way down to a 10-tooth with me, so if need be we can drop in size. That's not the only thing. I did get the Vanquish brass weights for the knuckles up front to see. Now they are close to double the weight of what the SSDs were, but I mean, I only wanted a little bit. We'll see how they do. If I don't like it, if it's too much for this rig, I'll swap back the SSD and figure out the little bit of extra weight elsewhere somehow. So let's see how it does. Let's rock and roll. So the low end seems kind of nice to start right there. Doesn't seem like I'm experiencing any kind of cogging or binding yet, but it's still very early to tell. Hopefully it doesn't. There we go. Okay, didn't really care for how that was sounding, but I'm not hating it either. It didn't show any signs of actual binding, just didn't sound great. So when I set it up last night in the app, it came completely updated. It was already set to the newest update. I did change a few minor settings. I changed the drag brake to 15. According to ExoCaged video, 14 or 15. Anything under 20 really will keep the heat down. So that will be a big bonus. I set the reverse. Oh, yeah, we have a little bit there. I might have to go down a tooth. But I set the reverse to 45. To keep it from shooting backwards like a friggin' bullet. So far, the extra weight up front, I don't hate it. I mean, doesn't seem to be hemming up the performance of it so far, but we'll see. Okay, that's multiple times that I see it cogging or binding a little bit, but it's nowhere near as disruptive as it was when I had it set up and tried to run it at Sam Lewis. Let's see how this feels. Ah, no heat. I mean, there is heat, but nothing to like even worry about. So at this point, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my pickup and I'm gonna swap the tooth down to a 12, maybe an 11, and go from there to see how it does. I don't think it's really all that bad, to be honest, but it's enough to annoy me. So let's just drop down one tooth and see what happens. Okay, so I swapped out the pinion from the 13. I skipped a 12 and I went straight to an 11. I didn't feel like sitting here and fussing around over a single tooth. And with how minimal that cogging was, I'm sure a 12 will have worked just fine, but I have a feeling the 11's going to be on point. But let's see what happens. Oh, it started to happen again. I may have to learn how to properly adjust throttle curve and stuff like that. I'm not the best with that stuff when it comes to programming. Whoa! Ow. So I do have the ESC set up for 8.4 volts. This is a Power Hobby 729 MBL, which is a high voltage motor. And in all honesty, I'm thinking this will be better set up with a BEC, just because I don't see the performance this thing is, this servo is capable of. Coming into play with this ESC here. I am definitely a lot happier with the performance since swapping to an 11 tooth pinion. Oh, spoke a little too soon. All right, so my final thoughts on my run with the VRD Mullet at White Rose Hobbies. I still love this truck. It's my favorite rig right now out of all my rigs. Maybe because it's new and shiny. Well, it used to be shiny. It's kind of starting to get its war wounds now. But anyhow, the tires are doing great. They have a wide variety of rock there, and they did great on majority of the rock. Can't expect a tire to like all types of rock. But I'm gonna keep running them for the long run to see how they do. Especially I want to see how they do in warmer weather. Now, the brass knuckles, I think they're great. They're heavy, they're solid, but I think they're a little too heavy for this rig in particular. At least my mindset, how it's set up. I don't think there's enough sprung weight for how heavy of a brass knuckle they are. So I'm going to swap back in the SSD brass knuckles and just keep running them for now. Better experience with this rig, I think. The Furitek Unity 10. It was a much more enjoyable experience this time around. The first time I was so disappointed. This time was much better. I started at a 13 tooth pinion. It had minor cogging, but no brownouts, no overheating. So that was great right there. But I still dropped down to an 11 tooth overall. It was a much better experience than the 13 tooth, and I feel like if you went down even to a 10, it would have been even a little better yet. But I mean, I like to run closer to a 13 tooth pinion overall, to be honest, just to have that little bump of speed here nor there. So that wasn't my favorite. I did have the rig set up with the ESC at 8.4 volts for my servo. Now I am running a Power Hobby 729 MBL. It is a high voltage servo, and I have run that at 8.4, and I know what it's capable of when you run it at that kind of voltage. And it wasn't performing at that. I understand this is a smaller setup, a smaller system overall, and it's only going to be capable of so much, but I think it's going to need a BEC. But if that's the situation, you might as well, in my opinion, I might as well run an outrunner that has something like a Crawlmaster V3 or something else to it, of that nature to it, or even just go back to the Fusion Pro. But I want to try to run an outrunner, I think, for a small moment on this. I do have a Hobby Wing outer outrunner coming in, the 2300 kV, with a new ESC that is supposed to be paired up with, or works better with it. I want to see how that does. I might run it in this or something else, but we'll see what happens overall. That's in the future. But yeah, as far as the Furitek Unity 10, I didn't hate it. I really didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it. But that's my opinion. And I think I'm going to wind up taking it out and probably selling it. If you have if you want to voice your opinion to me, cool. Leave a comment. I would be happy to read anything you have to say. If you like this kind of stuff, hit that like button for me. I appreciate taking the time to watch. And while you're at it, if you would help me grow my channel, hit that sub button, and that way I can see you for the future adventures, and see you next time. Thank you for watching, and catch you later.